Hello YouTube, this is David Coreen. I'm the president of Davron, and today I'm going to teach you a secret that I think is single-handedly one of the most important factors behind why our company and recruiters have such a high success rate and such a high hit rate from when we send resumes to whether or not they get interviewed. So if you're finding it's just a job seeker that you're applying all over the place, and you're really not getting a lot of traction, if let's say you get maybe 1 out of 10 applications that you send out, they respond to you, or even as low as 1 out of 5, then I think you can really benefit from some of the tips and hints that I'm going to give to you in today's brief presentation to take advantage of and really up your chances and land that dream job of yours. So as you can see right here on the screen, apply directly to the manager by email rather than through a job portal. And what do you say? What do you do? Include your resume and a brief and personalized email as to why you're applying for the position. Now, many of you may have questions of how do I get the manager's email? How do I even know who the manager is? How do I get that kind of intelligence? And the answer to that is that we utilize a tool called CareerShift. And if you take advantage and call in or email us through our outplacement division on Davron.net, simply by saying that you watch this YouTube video, we will give you a month of CareerShift absolutely free. Just call in, say you saw this video, a little Easter egg for those of you out there, and we will give you 1 month, absolutely no obligation, to CareerShift to do exactly what I'm doing right now. So let's say that you are a mechanical engineer, and I'm on Indeed, and I put in mechanical engineer, and I'm in Tampa, Florida, because that happens to be where I am right now. But you don't have to be a mechanical engineer. Of course, you could put in accountant, or you could put in server, or architect, or any of the other, I imagine, hundreds of thousands of professions that are out there. In this case, I'm using mechanical engineer because we're a specialized company that focuses on engineering, architecture, and construction professionals. But let's pretend that, in this case, for this purposes, that we're going to put in mechanical engineer, Tampa, Florida. I hit find jobs, and I get a list of jobs. And let's say that, in particular, one of them is interesting to me. And let's say that that one is hydro massage, because I happen to be a research and development engineer with a mechanical engineering background. So if you were like most other candidates, what you would do is you would hit apply now on here, and I already did that, so it takes you to the Indeed apply page. And then you're going to either build an Indeed resume or you're going to upload your resume. But the thing is that you get stuck in some sort of resume limbo. Who even knows specifically where this resume goes? It may go to the hiring manager directly in the best case scenario, or it may go to somebody in human resources, or simply just get stuck and your resume may never get looked at. Worse yet, if your resume happens to not be of proper formatting and their applicant tracking system is unable to process your name or your location, then they'll never look at you in the first place. You'll never get noticed. So if you're finding that very few companies are responding back to you, please come see us and we can help you with basic resume formatting, or look on our website, Davron.net, under help topics. And there we will teach you and show you how to make your resume applicant tracking system friendly. So what you don't want to do is be a part of the herd and do what everybody else is doing. Apply right here. Again, who even knows where it goes? Again, if you take advantage of it and you call in and say that you watched our YouTube special, then we will give you 1 month of CareerShift absolutely free with no obligation. Simply call in, say that you heard this YouTube video, and we'll give it to you absolutely free, limited to the first 10 people that do so. So what I did was I went into CareerShift, and once we give you access to this tool, normally I believe it's about $60 per month. And what I did was I specifically went into the company search tab and I put in hydro massage. And over here I see different companies. I was not location specific, but there's only 3. I'm surprised there are 3 that turn out that have hydro massage in them. So over here I see that hydro massage in Clearwater appears to be the right company because I know that it's right here. Clearwater is where this company is being advertised. So it appears to be a good match. I clicked on it over here, which brings me over to the next tab. And here's hydro massage. CareerShift is an incredible intelligence tool. It gives you tons of information in addition to an estimate on revenue, the number of people that are working at the company, a brief description of what the company does. But the most important thing, and for the purposes of this lesson, it gives you contact information and titles of the key decision makers that are responsible for hiring for the job. So I can see over here some of my choices. You have the CEO. You also have some sales professionals, but there's a director of engineering. And simply by clicking on view contact, and I did so, I see over here that Mario, the director of engineering, is also listed with his email address. What do you do? What do you say? I saw you advertising for a senior research and development position, and I think I'm a great fit for the opportunity, and go on to explain why. Maybe you're familiar with FlyMotion, or maybe you're familiar with Blackhagen, or potentially you went to the University of South Florida. And if you did, find a brief relative comment, fellow USF alum, that you can drop in the email. Include your resume along with this short email introduction, and you will have such a much better chance of ever getting an interview than you would by being part of the herd and applying through the Indeed system of who knows where you will ultimately end up. But by applying over here, you know that you are going to go directly into Mario's inbox. I found somebody else, the director of quality, potentially Mark Bretveld, is also somebody that you might want to consider applying to. You don't want to apply to 51 people at the company. 1, 2 at the very most. But I think applying to even just one over here, the director of engineering, makes complete sense. I'm going to close out some of these tabs here. Oh. And on to the next one. There's Mario. There's Mark. So, to repeat this process briefly, let's say that you find another company. In this case, you can see that I chose LidWorks for no other reason than I thought it was a very interesting name. And by clicking on LidWorks over here, it tells me a little bit more about this position. CAD design is what appears the position's main responsibilities are. But if I click on apply now, I know that it takes me again into this application screen, and ultimately, who really knows where you're going to end up? Again, by subscribing to CareerShift, or simply by calling, and we'll give you a month for free. And if you're active in your job search, it will not take you a month, I assure you, to find a job. You take my advice here. So simply, we are on the main screen. The next thing I did is I clicked on search, which is over here. You can see it opened up a new tab. This is where I typed in LidWorks. I can see over here, LidWorks is the only company with that very unique name. I like that name. I simply clicked here, which of course took me over here, same page. Bob Schaefer's the director of engineering, I can see. So I already have Bob clicked out. I can see that it's B. Schaefer at lidworks.com. It says direct apply. And I can also see just a little bit more information about Mr. Schaefer. You might want to consider looking on LinkedIn and see if there's some additional information that you might find relative, such as you also went to the same college as Bob Schaefer did. But more importantly, you can apply directly to Bob. And what do you say? Include your resume and a brief and personalized email as to why you're applying for the position. So remember, don't use the way that everyone else is using to apply. If you are using Indeed to find open positions, or you're using LinkedIn or Monster or any of the other job sites out there, then I strongly recommend that you go directly to the hiring manager who's looking for help, as opposed to some limbo applicant tracking system that you may or may not get through. I welcome you to call in, mention this podcast, say that we were offering 1 month as an Easter egg of free CareerShift. I believe they charge $60 a month for it, so it is a $60 value. We are going to limit it to the first 10 people that call in. And I hope that you do. Just please mention that you heard it on this podcast. And otherwise, we do offer career service and outplacement service. So if you are interested in that, having your resume professionally looked at, having a professional career coach who will guide you through the maze of applications, especially if you're looking for advancement in your career or how to find those hidden opportunities that are often not advertised, because the best jobs often are not on Indeed. We can teach all of that to you as well, and we have some very reasonable packages. I believe they'll start at about $1,000, maybe less. Again, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you found this helpful. This is David Coreen from Davron. Thank you so much.